Birds are chirping. The sun is shining. This is the first podcast I had to wear sunscreen for.
In all the important places. Back of the calves.
Yep, the melanoma zones, baby.
The vulnerable spots as you're sitting in your chair with the sun hitting the back of your calves.
Welcome to the podcast, Matthew. How you doing, man?
Doing great. It's a beautiful morning. You can hear the birds.
I could get used to waking up like this. Crystal clear skies, 60 degrees, or whatever, 70 probably right now, and Encinitas, California. And we've been down hanging out for a few days together now. This is the last day, and basically we're going to chat a little bit today about what we've been up to, some business updates, but also some stuff that's been on the top of our minds. Try and keep it loose and silly and not take ourselves so seriously is one of the biggest takeaways I've had from this week, because as we'll get into, we've been figuring out our creative process as a trio here, as a what's five people? A quintuple?
Sounds right, yeah.
A quintuple. I don't know. Quadruple, quintuple. And it's been a blast, man. So give us a little walkthrough on the last couple days and some of the stuff that you've been taking away and enjoying.
Yeah, I mean, to start off, I just feel like the past couple of days have been so good for us as a team. I mean, we operate in a way that's as efficient as possible, but it's very difficult when we have, 5 team members and they're literally all in different places of the world. And we do a good job, but it's just so different when you actually have everybody under the same roof and you can feel each other's energy. There's like a momentum that gets created that's just not quite possible when you're only trying to do things over Zoom calls. And I just feel like there's a deeper level of understanding when you're like really in front of people and working through things together and just connecting with each other in that way. And so I feel like, and we even came away from this, I don't think we've ever had, this was the first time we've had our whole team under the same roof at one time, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And
well, at least with me, a part of the team.
Right. Yeah.
I know you guys are all good friends.
It's even been brief. I mean, it's only been a couple of times that we've even had the majority of us all together. It's always fragmented. It's always like me and you, or me and Roddy, or me and Brooks and Byron, or like, but the times that it's all of us under the same roof, it's once basically. And I think we came away from this past week, just really wanting to prioritize that moving forward, and just seeing how much you can really get done in a couple of days when you just have everybody. You're not trying to balance everybody's schedule just because everyone's in the same house. You're like, all right, this is what we're doing today. And it just, I don't know, I think it kind of created the canvas for how we're going to start doing business now moving forward, is just like prioritizing these 2-week-long meetups, probably quarterly or something like that, where we just have some uninterrupted space to really jam on some stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It was really interesting. I feel like we struck a really good balance over the past couple of days at, knocking out the stuff that we need to get done, but also keeping things like kind of light and goofy. And we'll get into kind of how we did a lot of filming over the past couple of days, a lot of like content creation for the brands. And I think one of the best things that we probably made the decision to do was kind of just tap more into the humor side of things, rather than try to keep it so like uptight and professional, and especially in the mushroom space, because it's very easy to start sounding like super scientific and super, which, Roddy and I are we're all very knowledgeable about this space, but that's also not like our full personality to just like sit behind a camera and tell people, the science behind mushrooms and what it's doing for your brain and like all this stuff. It's like, we do know a lot about that, but Roddy and I as people, as individuals, like that's never our demeanor, expertise yeah. Even like it's just kind of like it's a piece of who we are and what we do and what we're focused on, and we're constantly learning in that space. But at the same time, it's like we think that so much of who we are is in these brands, and so much of who we are should continue to come out within the media and the content that's being published with the brands. And so, yeah, sorry, we're kind of like going in a different direction now, but I think...
Not at all, man. That's good. Kick us off.
In terms of what we actually did, we did a wide variety of activities, which was also kind of fun, especially for you to see, because I feel like you got a backstage view at a lot of the facets of the business that you hadn't seen before, which is cool. Because
Totally.
like on Friday, we went to our fulfillment center, had to drop off some new packages for the starter pack of the Root Strength and Sure Me that are now going to be sold on the website. Talked to our guy there, Steve, just kind of made sure things are going well. Did a little brainstorming. Steve's always down. Steve is just the man. Like, it's always good to get the people that are working with you, just develop a relationship with them, get to know them a little bit, because then they'll seek out opportunity for you as well. Like you saw when we went to fulfillment, Steve was like, hey, how we doing on distribution? Like, do we need any more? Like, what are you looking at? Who are you talking to? Like, let me look at my contacts. Let me see what we can get going on.
So could be a great connection for this thing. Or
right.
whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
And real quick, and I'll let you go back. As like a small business, as someone who's interested in startups and entrepreneurship, you don't think about how your relationship to your fulfillment center is a strategic decision and advantage, really, because if your fulfillment guy is bought in and stoked, like, you're literally, it's basically you have another business partner, right? Because he's incentivized to move more units. He's not an owner in the business, but the more units you move, the more money he makes. So it's like a win-win, and you have this like great dynamic. And the same thing with manufacturing. But I feel like a lot of especially young people don't really understand, at least I didn't understand, that like that's even a thing you can do. Like, we think about, oh, if you want to ship something, I'm kind of catching myself, you can fucking ship whatever on Shopify by yourself. You don't need a team.
Yeah, we did for a while. Yeah.
But to have like somebody who's like literally almost part of the team but not is, it's pretty cool. So sorry about that interruption there.
No, I mean, it makes total sense. And like Steve and their crew at fulfillment is definitely part of our team. You know, it's like, and then right after that, going to manufacturing, who, you know, those guys are literally a part of our team. Like, our manufacturers are equity owners in what we're doing. And Roddy's talked about that. I've talked about that, I think, on the podcast too, of just like how important of a move that was for us. Huge. Just to have a manufacturer who's actually invested in what you're doing, because I mean, a lot of brands that you see will just use a co-packer or we're outsourcing it somewhat, but like, it's actually a partner of ours, so it's not like we're just having a random co-packer who's making our product in like huge quantities and we're just another brand to them, you know.
No, it's like completely different from what a co-pack, like a typical protein bar co-packer scenario, where they just like call the co-packer and they're like, hey, we want a blueberry protein bar, and the co-packer's like, great, we'll formulate
just send you, they send you an invoice for like 15,000 units, and they say, great, we got it, and then you're just overpaying for like product that you probably don't even know how to sell yet.
And you don't really have much control over like the individual, like the quality of the individual ingredients.
Not at all. I mean, it's kind of just like up to them.
It's always nice when you wake up an hour and a half before your alarm, set up a podcast, and get it rolling before you were actually supposed to wake up. All right.
Is that your phone?
Yeah.
Okay. Where do we leave off? Talking about the manufacturing.
Talking about the co-packers and stuff. Like, I couldn't believe that co-pack. Like, I thought that if you're a business and you're selling a product, you have to like create that product. You know, you can't just like outsource literally the entire process of creating your product, but you can.
Completely. Yeah,
that's what they all do.
And like, if you have a decent amount of money to start with, like that's what you do. Yeah. You know, just because it's not what I would do.
Time in the kitchen, like figuring out what the good balance of the of the
and like
recipe
that's
is.
what made. But Roddy and I had to do that for the first one, for Shreddables. Like, we literally formulated ourselves, handmade the first like however many thousands of bars. And like, that's the reason why the company worked, or at least it was a lot of things, but like, that was a big piece of it, was the fact that like Roddy and I made those in a specific way with like so much love, and like knew exactly what our customers were going to be getting, and just made sure that the product was like at such a high quality, and we just cared about it, you know, and that's something that you really want from your manufacturer. And so like, that was really the whole reason why we even decided to make the equity partnership with our manufacturer in the first place, was just because we knew that we had to scale up, and we knew that it wasn't feasible for us to think that we could keep making all these products by hand, just because we're at a different stage in our business now. But we wanted to scale up, but also keep that integrity of like how we're making the products, what our relationship is like with the people that are making the products, and all that. And I feel like you saw that when we went to our manufacturing facility. It's like we go in, we have a chance to meet with Ben in the conference room. We're talking to our formulator.
Ben's the head of the manufacturing.
Yep. And then Jacob, who's the main formulator, he's the one who's actually doing the research, finding the different ingredients, like sourcing them, testing them, testing for efficacy, testing for taste, and like he even had a few samples for us to try of the new formulation for the root strength protein that's coming out here soon. So that was really fun, just to kind of talk with him about the different ingredients that are in there, what we want, what's possible, and then also making sure that it tastes the best. Like he came out with these awesome little beakers and gave us little taste tests of 3 different options with slightly different formulations. And it just kind of feels like a team, but it also just feels kind of like a family there too. You know, it's like, I mean, there's just a level of trust and like respect and kind of commitment to the project, just because everybody that's there is like invested in what we're doing. And so, like you said before, like when you have people around you who all they want you to succeed, because that means they succeed too, and vice versa. Like when they succeed, you succeed. Like that's a winning equation. And so I think that was a big priority for us, is like making sure we could set ourselves up in a way that was like possible.
And then we went and spent a day just creating, goofing off,
right,
having some fun.
Because now if you look at our business now, like we are so set up in terms of the ability to make the product, package the product, sell the product at any quantity of order, right? Like we are fully scalable at this point, and would be able to fulfill any size order from like any retailer or any online situation. And the thing that's missing is like kind of the thing that we were most excited about doing from the very beginning of when we started Shreddables, which is like making goofy content that kind of like relates to the brand in one way or another, that allows us to get a little bit of our personality out there, and then also, you know, spread awareness about the brand. But like literally when Roddy and I started Shreddables, our first plan of action was like literally writing out funny sketches for commercials that could happen. We filmed a fake like audition tape for like to be the Shreddables warrior, like before we even ever made a single bar. Like we made this hilarious video of me and Roddy pretending to like show up at this audition to be like the main character of the Shreddable warrior guy, and the whole thing is like you think of a tagline on camera, and it was just like goofy and like it's just stupid but also fun, and it ended up being really funny. But I mean, the main part that really lit me up about it was just like that was fun for me and Roddy, and it gave us a ton of life, and it just like it made us laugh, it made us smile, and it made us more excited about like the thing that we were working on. And so it was really fun for us to kind of look at this trip as a continuation of that. It's like, okay, we're now at this point where we have everything set up. Now we just need to sell more. And how do we sell more? Well, I mean, on top of like going out to like retailers and stuff, it's just like you need to get exposure. You need to make content. You need to make things that make people want to look at your product or think about your product. And we're like, well, there's a few ways to go about that. And you can do it how everybody else is doing it on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and make your brand look super clean and dialed in and really professional. And not that we don't, like we definitely have that as well. But we want our personalities to come through within the brands, because I think that's a big part of it. And I think, like I said, like so much of us is built into these already. So it's like, how do we bring more out of that? And I think humor is a massive piece of that. And so yesterday we literally, we had like a few ideas. We had done some good brainstorming, kind of had a few different things that we wanted to shoot, but ultimately ended up going to a new space. We were shooting in this apartment complex, and we actually came up with a new idea on the spot just based off of our surroundings, and probably made what I think is the funniest, best video that we've made like in a long time. But it was really fun and interesting kind of developing the workflow between the three of us. And I think it was really cool watching that play out, because it was like you could kind of see each one of us stepping into like our power in some ways. You know, it's like Roddy is killer on camera. Like he crushes it, right?
Yes.
And then like you got the, you know where to be with the film, like filming everything, making it look nice, kind of positioning people where they should be. And then, you know, me with like the dialogue and kind of helping Roddy like figure out the funniest way to deliver it, and kind of like being able to take a step back and look at the scene and kind of like direct in some ways, you know?
That's exactly what it is.
And like, and we just got better at it throughout the day too. And I feel like it was the first time where it really started to click of like, oh, this is actually, this is kind of our speed, you know? And it was great. Like, it was really fun and encouraging, and it made me excited about what we can continue to create in kind of that similar style.
So my full-time job is creating YouTube videos and podcasts is the output that we create on my team. For the most part, we make some social media videos, and it was, for me, really interesting to see the creative process that you and Roddy are already really comfortable with. That you know, I'm a very like I think it's right brain heavy person, very logical. I want to have things very clear in my mind and have an outline on paper. Like, I'm not like too hardcore on the planning. Like, I also like to just fucking go. But to see basically the results of just playing and being free to just like, okay, we're gonna shoot this, and oh no, there's this better idea. And I felt like we did a really good job of just keeping our personal egos and emotions out of it. Like, there's just moments throughout the day where it's like, you know, maybe we don't have the exact same idea. Like, for example, like with should we keep the Oculus on the eyes or not? And it's like, it would be great either way, but then we kind of come to the conclusion that we should pull it up, and I guess I just gave away some of the that's a little teaser. Yeah. But yeah, little stuff like that, and like knowing, okay, like Kyle probably has a different perspective on this, like because of his, you know, background and whatever, and you guys really trusted me to bring that, and so.
And it's all important too, right? Yeah, like you just said, I mean, it takes, oops, knock that off. It takes a little bit of both, because, and we struck that balance really well, and I think that's what I'm so fired up about, is because it was like, yeah, let's be goofy, let's kind of like be a little bit like not super planned out about what we're gonna shoot, but then also we had the idea, but then it did become very intentional too, because it was like, okay, this is the direction, this is funny, but then like we need to make sure every single line and every single clip is like objectively funny, you know, and like the best possible sentence that could be delivered, like based on the timing, based on the like tone of voice, like all of that. And so it was a really fun balance of both of those things.
We probably filmed that one video that we're talking about in like an hour, I would say. And for me to create a video in an hour, and then the edit, I'm like halfway done with it, and it was 30 minutes. So like to create something out of nothing in 2 hours is, as far as like videos go, like that's unheard of for me. Like in my world, it's like, we plan things, we pitch them to the team, we agree on them, we approve them, we script them, develop them, we research them, then we have 2 more meetings, and then we meet 4 more times, and then finally we go to production, we reshoot 3. No, I'm kidding. I'm being stupid, but seriously,
probably not that far off.
It feels like that sometimes. It feels like we just should just shoot, and like we might get something better than if we spend 16 hours prepping, and then we take away that like potential for some random change of idea or something. Like, I guess my takeaway 1 for me is just like, don't overthink the planning. Don't think that you can't create something just like with a camera and 2 friends in your hands. Like, make sure you get some good audio. But the second thing that I took away from the day was just the energy that I felt, the excitement, laughing, like throughout the day. I don't know how many times I laughed. My face was like literally smiling the whole day, because we're just in the present moment, feeling so energized by what we're doing. And it was, dude, something that I haven't felt in a really long time, that sense of just like, not a moment of like, oh yeah, I lost my focus, or like I'm distracted. Like, it's just like, here we are, there's no pressure, but like this is all we're working on right now.
This is what we're here to do.
It was
you know?
it was
like,
super energizing, and for anyone who like hasn't felt that, like myself, for a really long time, like I get a taste of it sometimes, like creating a little this or that, but a full day of just like we're dedicating this to just making stuff.
No, it felt good, and it kind of eliminates that feeling of like that anxiety that comes with like, okay, you know you're supposed to be making content, and then you start and you're like, am I doing like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
You know, like instead it was just like, hey, we know that this is what we want to do. We're here. We have the whole day. Like, so let's be serious about it, but also be like goof. Like, I don't know. It was such a weird balance because it was like, we are being professional about it, but we're like,
we're taking ourselves seriously
totally
in that sense.
But it's hilarious too, because I'll be like, you know, Roddy will say the line, and then we'll be like, we'll just be dying laughing, and then we'll like have a serious moment where we're like, okay, actually like deliver it like this, and like say this, and like move your body like this when you like wake up and deliver the line. You know what I mean? So it's like, you're like creating this professionalism around these like hilarious sentences and like funny situations, and like that was a thrilling thing for me, to be honest. Like I really enjoyed that, like just because it's such a contrast of, I don't know, it's
bro, I've never worked on SNL, but I feel like that's a taste of what they do like on a regular basis. Or like if you're on one of those sitcom skit shows like Chappelle Show, imagine shooting Chappelle Show, like that crew, how much fun they're having.
Unbelievable. So fun. That I actually took something away from a guy who was talking on a podcast who was a writer on SNL, and he said that he was like, the best thing that SNL taught me was, I mean, a big part of it was like how to handle criticism, just because like that's the environment of how they shoot things and how they write things. It's just like, hey, we need everybody's ideas, but we also like need to agree that everything that we put out needs to be like just funny, and everybody needs to think that it's funny. And if it's too fringe or if it's too like whatever, we're not going to go with it. But that doesn't mean it's not like a good or valuable idea, and you don't need to like take it personally that it's like getting shut down. Like our job as a team is to make sure that everything we're putting out is like at least as close to objectively funny as it can get. And so that's how they look at their work. And I feel like that's kind of what we were doing as well. Is just like, I mean, not feeling too tied to like, oh, that was my idea, and now he's not saying it like how I thought he should be saying
That'll
it, or like what I, you know, it's just like, oh, I thought this, but then.
Oh my God, dude. Anyway, sorry to distract you.
It's all good.
The weed killer guy doing his job right here. 100% what you just said is true. And before we go too much further in the podcast and just keep talking about some video no one has seen, or maybe people have seen it by now. No, probably not. I'm going to go publish this episode 20 minutes from now. Dude, tell the story about what we heard when we were at the manufacturing facility. Crazy.
Okay, so Ben, our manufacturer, he's a good friend of ours, but he has a good buddy who trains with the Navy SEALs in Coronado. And I don't know how I hadn't heard this before, because when I heard this, I was like, how the fuck are you not going to tell me that? So basically, Ben at his place made this huge, like, bulk special order and just put it in this ginormous bucket of root strength and gave it to this guy who trains with the Navy SEALs. Should we give it a sec?
Just
or is it
whatever.
fine?
It doesn't even matter.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry to look that way.
No, it's all good. So he gives this bucket to the guy who's training with the Navy SEALs and is telling us that now, like, they're all taking it every single day. It's in their mess hall where they all eat, and it's at the end after they get their food and their breakfast in the morning. They literally just scoop this big bucket that says root strength and just take their scoops out of it, put it in their mug, eat their breakfast, drink their root strength, and then get on with their training. And I was like, that is the coolest thing I've ever heard. And it was just like really, especially because root strength really is like such a new brand, and like, I mean, it's doing well, but it's still very much at its beginning stages. But I mean, we think that it's basically about as high of a quality as it gets in terms of like a performance product for energy and focus. And so to know that it's being used by basically the pinnacle of like human performance from like a mental and physical state,
Yeah.
and they're enjoying the product. It's like, that was really, really awesome to hear.
When I heard that, I was like, yo, do you realize that's essentially like if LeBron James or like, you know, like an NBA basketball team, it's almost higher because there's only one SEALs, you know, like there's only one Navy SEALs group. They have teams or whatever, but that's like, I don't know, maybe the biggest accomplishment the business has ever had, and we didn't even sell it to them. It just happened, you know. You never know what can result from just being in the right place.
I kind of like that too. Like, I kind of like the fact that it's a little like no one really knows, like, just because that's kind of how the SEALs operate in general too. So it's just like, of course they're not using something that's like as big of a name as like Gatorade. They're using the secret weapon.
Dude, there's no way. Well, if you haven't tried Root Strength, you need to. If you message me, I'll send you some. And the stuff speaks for itself. It's like you literally put a packet of Root Strength in someone's hand. You say, try this. And then they just text you after they try it saying, I felt amazing. I felt focused, energized, didn't feel a crash or jitters. Like, it is a great product. And
I'm drinking it right now.
Yes, you are. I already had my basically triple scoop with some Salus in there. Feeling so good to start the day. That Navy SEAL story, I was like, unbelievable. So glad we hit on that one.
We had that, and then yesterday, it's been a packed few days. Like yesterday we went and so there's this company here in Encinitas called Wave Neuro, and what they do EEG brain scans for people just to see how their brain is processing information, what types of like waves they have going on between alpha, beta, theta waves, and like what that means and how that relates to your brain health. And they actually also have like an option to, it's like, I'm gonna butcher the words for it, but basically a type of therapy that stimulates different parts of your brain based off of like where it's not working at its optimal level. But the initial thing is just a brain scan, so they can like overall see how your stuff is functioning. And I got connected with them through a friend of mine who works with the Lululemon ambassadors here in San Diego County. And they were going to do an event together, and he invited me to come along. I met the people. I met the guy who runs the brain scans. He was very informed about functional mushrooms and lion's mane and was really stoked about the products that we were working on. And we started talking about how we would love to do an experiment of people who have never used our products before, do a brain scan with them at Wave Neuro, and then have them take our products consistently for 2 or 3 months, like every single day, and make sure that they are, and then have a brain scan after 3 months and see if there's been any type of neurological changes or any type of different function in the brain after supplementing our products for a while. And like the main guy there is pretty convinced that there will be some significant changes. So I'm really stoked to get those experiments rolling. We're sourcing the athletes for who we're going to use for that.
Sourcing the athletes. Fucking ship them.
Yeah. But yesterday there was an event that Lululemon and Wave Neuro did together, and then we were there with our products too, talking to people, making people root strength before we did like a nice little yoga session, and then just kind of got to hang out and network. But it was really cool. Like, I feel like that's a very the Wave Neuro is very aligned with kind of what we're doing as well. They're very much in like the brain health and performance space. And that's kind of exactly what we're doing as well, from more of like a natural, adaptogen mushroom lens. But it's doing very similar things, right? Like, it's potentially changing the neurochemistry of your brain, and everything that we do and promote is kind of all about mental health, physical health, and seeing what's possible in terms of human performance. And so I'm stoked to be partnered with them and being able to collaborate with them. And so I think as we do those experiments, we're going to do a really good job of storytelling around it and kind of creating some good little media around it, telling who the people are, what they're involved with, how it's going with the products, like if they're expecting anything to change, like just like making a story out of it.
Yeah.
And then also, I think once we do that, we're going to be able to tell the story through not only Wave Neuro's channels, but also Fantastic Fungi is curious about picking up this story too. Because we've done work with them, and so I saw Tracy, who we she's like basically head honcho of all of Fantastic Fungi's like media presence and online marketplace stuff. And
Fantastic Fungi is a award-winning documentary that is now a conference and organization built around mushrooms, correct?
Minus the conference part. Like it was the
not a
movie.
conference.
It's
Or
more of
there
like
was.
a community. They were thinking. I think COVID ruined it, and they did like an online version of it or something. But yeah, Netflix documentary. Louis Schwartzberg made it. Unbelievable film.
Paul Stamets
is in it. I mean, anybody in the mushroom space or in the psychedelic space
Or
who's
just
like a
any
prominent
human.
name is pretty much in it.
Oh,
And
I thought you were going to say is interested in it.
Oh, I
My
mean,
bad.
anybody who's has a pulse should be interested in it. It's fascinating, and if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking it
Joe
out.
Rogan's podcast with Stamets is really good as well if you're
Very
interested
good.
in the power of mushrooms,
Yep.
especially lion's mane.
Very good. So knowing that we kind of have those two partnerships working is huge, and I feel like that's. I don't know. I just feel like we have a ton of momentum going on right now, and it just feels very in flow, and I think that was emphasized by all of us being in the same place and kind of like experiencing it together and like feeling that, because it's a tangible feeling, of your trajectory, is I guess how I would put it, and like when we're all together and we're all experiencing like the impact that we can have right now at this moment, like with our products, with who's on our team, with our ability to like connect with people and share and just be, but then also talk about what's possible, so it's like an exciting place of where we're at right now, which creates even more excitement for like all of these ideas that we're talking about in the direction that we're moving.
It's interesting. There's a Jeff Bezos quote. He says, you have to be willing to be misunderstood for long periods of time. And
Yeah, that's a great quote, actually. I don't even like Jeff Bezos, but...
Yeah, I don't like him either, but it is a great quote. I feel like that's a trait or a characteristic that you see in entrepreneurs where it seems like it takes a certain type of person to spend a Saturday creating funny videos with some like hope that it's gonna lead to like building a business, like it can feel kind of like silly or like almost like foolish, I would say. I don't know, that's just something that I was kind of like pondering, like how do you know when you're in the right place? I think it, like what you said, what triggered me to think it's just a feeling.
It's a feeling.
Yeah, it's like we're here, this is it, like right now. That's no question about it. And if you find yourself starting to think like, is this the right place? Should I be doing this or that? Or now all of a sudden you're not in the right place. The question is answered. If you're thinking to yourself like, I should be creating somewhere else or doing something else, like it's like a red flag.
Yes and no, because I think some of those thoughts are just natural and will creep up regardless. And there's going to be like different waves of how this feels too. You know what I mean? Because like even for us, not that I've ever like had full on doubts of like oh, this is not what we should be doing, but like it's not like everything always feels like it's in flow either. It's like, especially when we're not all together, you'll have days where it's impossible to get everybody on the same page. We can't even find time to all connect. Like customers are upset about random stuff, like something went wrong at the fulfillment center, the manufacturing center. Like just it can feel terrible at times too. Yes. But I think you're right. Like if you're always doubting, questioning, feeling like there's something else that you should be doing, like I mean, you should definitely listen to that. But
it's a good point.
But
you can have self-doubt. We just did a podcast on it.
Yeah.
But you can have self-doubt and still be in the right place doing the right thing.
Right.
Self-doubt is normal, but shut that shit down.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah.
Let's put a pin in this one. I think we did a little update on what we've been up to for the last couple weeks, and next podcast we'll have a topic or maybe even a guest, potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
All right. Till next time, if you want to try out the products, I would say, what's the promo code? Adventure?
Get Rooted. Adventure works. Get Rooted also works.
Get Rooted.
Yeah, those are two good ones.
And we got a bunch of new products coming out soon.
Yep.
And we'll have another announcement for all that. But, yep, thanks for tuning in. And until next time, we're out of here.